joining us right now on the Analytics, Big Data and the Cloud seminar. We've had many speakers here. You, sir, Stuart Lomas, are the president of ABCTech, the host of this event
the Alberta
as well.
Council of Technologies, yes.
And tell me why you thought that this would be a good event to hold.
Well, we're seeing a lot of activity in the analytics area, and Alberta is particularly strong in the analytics and machine learning area. On top of that, we also have industries that can make a great deal of use of analytics. Some of them are to some extent, but by and large not as much as could be. So we saw quite a gap there in terms of capabilities and potential markets, and we'd really like to bridge them.
So, I mean, this obviously brings some people together so they can talk about it. Is that the only thing that's in the way, or what are some of the obstacles to doing that?
Well, awareness is a major obstacle. Just looking around the conference that we have right here, you'll find that we have some major sponsors who have been most generous in supporting the conference. So people like Cisco and Deloitte and IBM and EMC have all put up significant money and supported the conference quite fully. And yet, when we went to smaller companies in Alberta, we found the awareness wasn't so much there. So the majors are all very much aware of the value and opportunity in analytics, but the smaller companies and also the users of analytics are less aware of it. And we'd like to, so spreading that awareness and just doing the networking even is very valuable in its own right.
So how do you convince these people that this is something that they should be looking at?
There's not a lot of convincing that needs to happen, they just need to see. So people come, they see it, you just see the faces light up. Say, oh yeah, look what you can do. And it's quite astonishing. I mean, and there's huge results that we can point to that have already happened. So here in Edmonton, CN Rail has a large rail yard. Up until about 1995, the rail industry in Canada and also in the U.S. was basically lived on government handouts. It was a money loser for at least 50 years before that. Beginning around that time, with the breakup of CP and other railways, they needed a new basis for competition, and they moved heavily into analytics. So they started dealing with their logistics of their own rail fleet. They didn't call it analytics at the time. The term analytics has really only become common use quite recently. But what they did was most definitely analytics, keeping their rail cars moving as much as possible, turnaround time shortened, managing who's on the track, when and where, and as a result, that industry has absolutely blossomed. So they now publish their analytics numbers in their annual reports. I can't remember the particular term they use, fluidity or something to describe the percentage of time that they're able to keep their rolling stock rolling. And so they actually compete in their annual reports based on what is ultimately an analytics number.
Okay.
So that industry is transformed by analytics, and we believe that other industries can be equally transformed.
Why do you think it's just the larger ones that have gravitated towards this right now? Because I would think sometimes the larger ones move a little bit slower than the smaller ones can as well.
Well, when I described the larger ones, I meant they're the larger suppliers.
Okay.
So on the supply side, the larger suppliers have recognized the opportunity of analytics, and they also are engaged with the larger potential users of analytics. So the rail industry is, of course, a large user of analytics. They tend to have the larger problems, and the larger suppliers have the larger resources. But there are many opportunities farther down the chain. For example, on our organizing committee, we have Dan Haight of Dark Horse Analytics, which is a spin-off of the University of Alberta School of Business, who is a co-host with us in the conference. Dark Horse Analytics is working with some of the emergency services providers in Alberta to optimize what equipment they have where and when and how they respond to emergency situations. So there are, and that's not a large company. So there's many opportunities, both large and small, and I know that we see resistance on both sides just coming from a lack of awareness.
How do you see the landscape changing then if you were to look a few years down the road, if more organizations, and we're talking government as well, I imagine, and government, business, if they were to embrace analytics, how would you see the landscape changing in our province?
Well, there are so many different facets to it, because analytics can be applied in so many different areas. We know that some of the local governments are very interested in analytics for managing their own tax base, their own land usage. The city of St. Albert, for example, has been very supportive of analytics as an opportunity area for them. Today we have a speaker from the Edmonton Oilers, so Ricky Olsik, the Assistant General Manager. The Oilers have been very interested in analytics, as professional sports generally is. You can certainly see that with things like the movie Moneyball.
Right.
But that's spreading across all other sports. And in professional sports, they're looking at things like team building. So Moneyball was about building optimal teams. But then you can take the idea of team building and then you can move it to another industry. So you can take the Moneyball idea and then move it to healthcare. How do you create an optimal surgical suite team? What about nurse staffing in an institution? All sorts of different things where you're blending different capabilities that people have and coming up with a good solution for the problem at hand, given the resources that you can acquire and afford. So it's almost exactly the Moneyball situation, and take it and you can apply that team building thing anywhere. Or the railway example, which is logistics. That has to do with keeping things moving all the time and making efficient use of your resources in a moving situation. We have a speaker today from the driving force who's applied the same sort of thing to their vehicle rental fleet.
Okay. So things should improve, money can be made, money can be saved.
Absolutely.
That's what we're looking at.
Absolutely,
basically.
yes.
And
this is a
well.
bottom line effect. So you can look at the effects in any of the industries that I've described, and it comes right to the bottom line, the business advantage. This is not a bunch of theorems.
Thank you very much. We've been chatting with Stuart Lomas, and we're going to have a live presentation momentarily from the next keynote speaker at this event.